If you don't go to church, it may feel like church is kind of a private club. Well, Jesus taught that God's house is for you. Jesus said, God's house of prayer is for everyone. Good morning and welcome to 755 Live. For about 5 minutes, you'll hear all about easy to remember soundbite versions of what Jesus said. And the point is to help you experience life to the fullest, the Jesus way. Today's Jesus Said comes from Matthew 21:13 and also Mark 11:17. You can find a different command of Jesus every weekday at our Bible plan at bible.today.church. For a little bit of context, we're going to read more than that this morning, beginning with Matthew 21:12 through 13. Jesus entered the temple and began to drive out all the people buying and selling animals for sacrifice. He knocked over the tables of the money changers and the chairs of those selling doves. Excuse me. He said to them, "The scriptures declare, my temple will be called a house of prayer, but you have turned it into a den of thieves." Now, similar encounter in Mark 11:15 through 17. When they arrived back in Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple and began to drive out the people buying and selling animals for sacrifices. He knocked over the tables of the money changers and the chairs of those selling doves. And he stopped everyone from using the temple as a marketplace. He said to them, "The scriptures declare my temple, my house, will be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have turned it into a den of thieves." Now, first point I want to make today is that this story isn't an excuse for our anger. I mean, have you ever heard, even Jesus turned over the tables in the temple as, some kind of excuse for our own, quote, quote, self-righteous anger. And yes, Jesus did turn over the tables in the temple, but he had been teaching in the same temple and other synagogues for more than 3 years without turning over any tables. Jesus also walked on water and raised the dead. Now, self-righteous anger is easy. Walking on water, raising the dead. Let's see you do that before deciding you're qualified to turn over tables in the temple. The real story here is, why did Jesus do this? What was so wrong that the Son of God, who never defended himself, went on the offense? Well, the story is in all 4 of the gospel accounts. It's in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And in the book of John, we get some additional insight. John 2:17. Then his disciples remembered this prophecy from the scriptures. Passion for God's house will consume me. You see, this was all about God's house. And Jesus quoted the Old Testament scripture that says that God's house is intended to be for everyone, for all nations, all kinds of people. But something was very wrong. And Jesus called what they called the temple a marketplace. And to understand this, we need to understand what was actually happening. There were money changers in the outer courts of the temple who changed the standard Greek and Roman money for Jewish and Tyrian shekels. And this made things more convenient. And also, it was a profit scheme as well, because the priests were kind of in on this money exchange and got profit out of that as well. And God's house is not supposed to be a place where sacrifice is only convenient. They missed the point. And today, God's house isn't a physical building, but it is represented by the spiritual building that we call church or ecclesia, those that are called out for a purpose. But it's not supposed to be a marketplace where we just offer worship to God based on our convenience. But it has become really so much like a business. And I said that. Many people far from God think that church is all about getting money and that they are not welcome. Maybe we do need to turn over some tables in our own hearts. I mean, am I worshiping God only when it's convenient? Is God's house of prayer welcoming for everyone or only people that are like you? Have we turned this into a business rather than an outreach? You see, Jesus said, God's house of prayer is for everyone. How can you put that into action today? Thank you so much for listening. If this is meaningful to you, it does mean a lot when you like it, when you share it, when you comment. I really appreciate you. I hope that you have an amazing day. And I hope this time together has helped you live life to the fullest the Jesus way. And remember, follow Jesus today. Love first.